What's going on, everybody? It is Sunday morning, and yesterday my dad and I set up at a card show, the Auburn card show. I got to see a lot of you there, actually. Several people came up that are affiliated with Midlife Nation, and it was a really, really fun day. I got to hang out all day with my dad. Now, I've been trying to take you guys through this journey that I'm on about, am I going to sell certain things in my collection? Am I going to pivot? And so yesterday was actually a pretty big day for me because I had to decide, what am I going to bring with me to sell? And am I going to bring some of those cards that I've been thinking about selling? So I'm going to show you our cases. I'm going to show you what stuff I brought, and I kind of took the plunge. And brought some stuff to sell that previously I wasn't really thinking. I was thinking would be long-term pieces in my collection, but I'm just ready to kind of shake things up a little bit. So I did bring some of that stuff after talking about possibly selling it. So let's go ahead. Let's go inside. I'm going to interrupt a couple of times during this, but I want to go ahead and take a look inside the show, our setup, some of the other stuff at the show. Let's take a look at that here. So in we go at the Auburn card show in the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas. I would say this is about a 150 table show, if I were to guess. And there was a little bit of everything. There was a fair amount of Pokemon, but there were quite a few card dealers as well. And this is the view from our booth. I'm looking out the back of it here, and I will show you our booth here in just a second. Again, I was set up with my dad and got to see a bunch of friends, some of which you'll see here in a second. So there's our table. I'll show you from the other side as well. So here is the front side. I still got some of those programs for sale that I bought a while back. I've sold about half of them. Still have some left. And those were out. And then here's a case. You can see I've got some of my Sammy Baugh cards and Otto Graham cards, but a nice Kareem and Wilt Chamberlain. That Ted Williams there in the center. That Roger Maris is Darren's. I got my Warren Spahn rookie is up for sale, I guess. I mean, we're doing this. Coach has got some cards up there, the 53 Topses or Coaches. He actually ended up selling those. He ended up selling that Willie Mays All-Star. I'm going to have to tell that story here soon on how that played out. Maybe on Monday's episode. And, yeah, some basketball cards. That Luka there's Darren's. And then I got a Jim Brown and a Bart Starr. Those two Gale Sayers cards I now have signed, so I don't need multiple copies. Yeah, so a little bit of everything in the case there. And then we had some piles of some minor stars and stuff. Most of these here are Coaches. I had a few things that I ended up putting out on that table. Not a ton. He sold a bunch of those 57 Tops. Just a little bit of everything. And then here's one of his cases. Some 58 Tops down at the bottom. Really nice Whitey Ford there. Good Warren Spahn over to the right. Got some 1960 stuff. Another Whitey. Cool 62 All-Star of Willie Mays. You got that Roger Maris 62 Tops. Another Roger Maris there. So we had a little bit of everything. Here's a closer look at some of it. His prices are written in Sharpie on a lot of them on the actual bag that the card is in. And again, those 62s are really nice. High grade Whitey Ford 59 up there. So all in all, we had a pretty good day. He sold a fair amount. I sold a fair amount. Nice Ernie Banks there. So again, this was our home for the day. My guy Jeremy ended up buying a pirate card. One of my doubles. That was fun. All right, so some of that stuff, some autogram cards, a couple of Jim Brown cards, some other cards that were interesting ones that I was definitely kind of talking about maybe selling. I ended up selling my 1956 Topps Ted Williams card. I sold a few cards. I did fairly well at the show. Now, of those cards that I just showed you there, if there's anything that you're interested in, you could reach out, I guess, via email. Email me. The stuff that had the little square sticker, like you do the little thing and you use the sticker. Those were either my cards or actually some of those were actually Darren's cards returned to collecting. And then the cards that had Sharpie written on them were my dad's. I could put his contact information down below in the pinned comments if you want to reach out to him, or you could just reach out to me and I could route it to him. But anyway, so I did sell some cards that I wasn't previously thinking about selling. There were some other really cool stuff in the show. There were some really cool cards. So I'm going to show you a few highlights of some of the stuff that I saw. One card I was kind of thinking on for a minute because it just was like screaming nostalgia at me. So let's take a look at some other stuff that was at this show. Barkley right here. So this was a Charles Barkley 86 Fleer autographed, and like the nostalgia part of me was just screaming that I needed this. I love Charles Barkley. That guy he's cut out of a different cloth and I like it. So I want to take a good look at that one.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
It was pretty cool for sure. Kept on moving throughout the room. There was some cool stuff in this case. This is my guy Ed. He's got a lot of boxing stuff. He had some wrestling stuff, but then he had sports cards too. Some modern, some vintage. But I always like going over and checking out his cases and saying hey to him. He's a great guy. So some cool stuff there. And then Tim, I've shown some of his cases, but his inventory is always updating and turning, and he sells a lot and buys a lot. And he had these political cards, which are just gorgeous. These are early 1900, late 1800s. And then he had a case of Disney stuff, and I'm just thinking of my guy Mookie, who's been on this tear recently with Disney cards. And that tattoo book up there, I was like, I think that's right up Mook's alley. So I asked for a better look at that.
That's really cool.
So we started looking through this thing, and I sent this video to Mookie. And in the background, my daughter, Lucy, and her friend Gianna, they came and hung out for a few minutes. And they were with me when we looked at this. So it's cool to get Lucy to a card show. She could actually see what they were like. But this is a tattoo book, still intact.
That is so cool.
Disney, old. I was like, Mookie might like this. So I sent that to him. Here is a good view of the back of it. Again, it was fully intact and complete. That was that Disney case and non-sport case, but he had some unbelievable memorabilia relic cards. And as we go through this, you'll see all the big names. Mantle and Musial and DiMaggio and Gehrig and some Ted Williams in there, Clemente's in there. These things are just gorgeous. And if there's anything that is appealing to me in patch cards or bat cards or any of that kind of stuff, it is the kind of stuff that Tim carries. There's some Gehrig relics, Ruth relics, lots of Ruth stuff, more Gehrig on the right. On the left, some game used. One of those has a game used jersey patch. It's just, we had a good time talking. He's a good dude. Again, we were talking here about Josh Gibson's stuff, and
what he does and doesn't have. And we were talking about some of the Negro Leaguers, including Josh Gibson. He was saying he doesn't have any Josh Gibson memorabilia stuff. Again, keep looking here, and there's a lot of Mel Ott. There's a check there from Ty Cobb. That's pretty amazing. 2,200 seems reasonable for a check that's signed by Ty Cobb. Really cool. Got some Jackie stuff in this case. Cobb. I mean, he's got, like, I was telling him, like, you got all the right names, man. You got Hannes Wagner and Ty Cobb and Mel Ott and the best of the best. Is a Sisler and a Hornsby up there. Lajoie. Just has some Jim Thorpe stuff. He had several Jim Thorpe things. At one point we were talking about how underappreciated he is in some of this era and what an athlete he was. And there I am. I'm trying to convince him to come on the channel. Like, come on, man. You got to come on the channel.
All right, I have lots of thoughts. There was some really cool stuff at the show. Tim was the dealer at the last table there, where he had a lot of that vintage modern stuff, which I when you're actually looking at a case, it has some cards with memorabilia pieces from Jackie Robinson and Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and Joe DiMaggio and Roberto Clemente and Mickey Mantle and Ted Williams. It's pretty cool. And I'm trying to get Tim to come on and talk to us because he's one of the bigger dealers of this stuff and kind of just explain his passion for it and his thoughts on it. But it's been one of these topics that for a while now, you know, some of my friends in the community have been buying some modern cards that are vintage themes and vintage players. And I feel like that's kind of starting to grow a little bit. And of all the people who have mem stuff that I've ever seen, the memorabilia stuff in Tim's cases is just absolutely phenomenal. So hopefully I can convince him to come on the channel. But we'll see how that plays out. Didn't really buy anything, just kind of had a good time hanging out. I guess I've taken the plunge of selling certain pieces of my collection that previously weren't really things I was going to sell, but here I am. Let me know what you think. Am I making the wrong decision? And again, if there was anything in one of our cases that you saw, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching. Happy Sunday. Go 49ers.